Well. After what has felt like ages since the idea of this patch actually becoming a reality, we are now finally in patch 0.13, also known as the Streets patch. That's right, the map is in the game. It's playable along with a whole slew of changes and additions to the game. This might be the most hyped and anticipated patch in the game's history, although to be fair, Reserve is a very close second. Regardless, we have arrived. And how is it? How's the map? How has the wipe experience been this time around? And overall, what are my thoughts on this patch as a whole for the early game? So far, this wipe has certainly been the most interesting one we've had in a long time, at least a year now, because the last wipe was during the summer, which was bad, and the one before that was almost a year ago exactly. That's when we got Lighthouse. And there's a lot to go over, so I'm going to do my best to hit as many of the highlights as I can. The first and largest one, arguably, is Streets, and I'll be brutally honest with you guys. I haven't played the map yet. I know, I should have by now, but I wanted to try and hit the ground running in my first couple raids, and they went really good. Now it's kind of a struggle fest, but I have seen a ton of the map from watching other people play it, and it looks incredibly interesting. So much detail, and just walking down the main road of Streets is so cool. You've seen this map in trailers and screenshots for years now, and you're finally on it. The new smoke grenade extract is fun and different, and overall the map really looks like it lives up to the expectations that we had. We'll see how it shapes up around initial spawns and what the first 30 seconds of an average Streets raid looks like in the coming weeks and months, but I will be playing it soon, I promise. I just want to go in with decent gear so when I inevitably die it hurts just that much more, you know? Typical Tarkov stuff. Now, probably the most different change in the game is the removal of Steam audio and its replacement of Oculus audio. It's way too early to tell whether the switch was an overall net positive or negative, but I can certainly say it's really different. As someone who never used binaural audio except for the 2 raids the day it came out, all the sounds are so drastically different, but I still get roughly the same information as before, relatively speaking. It all just sounds different. If you're inside, gunshots, reverb, vibrate, and bounce a lot more, and outside sounds are much louder and much more distinct. Again, is this a good thing? I don't know. I'm really ignorant to how this stuff works behind the scenes, and there are definitely bugs and spots on certain maps with really major issues, but we'll have to wait and see how BSG tweaks and tunes the audio to see what it ultimately becomes down the road. New guns have been introduced as well. The AUG and the RSH-12 are 2 highlights, which is just the AS-12 in revolver form. I've actually used the AUG because you could get a gift from the official Tarkov website, and it honestly is better than I was expecting it to be, which I'm super happy about. Because it looked so lacking in attachment slots, I figured it was going to have too much recoil and just be a blemish of a gun, very similar to how when the G36 initially came out. But it actually has solid recoil numbers, and has more horizontal than it does vertical recoil, which is a breath of fresh air. It doesn't just jump into the sky when you shoot it once or twice. It stays relatively solid when you're aiming. You have no idea how welcome this kind of recoil is. Different, it's just good. And the RSH-12, again, from what I've seen because I don't have it yet, is just wild. Just a beefy ass weapon that packs a massive punch in a small package. And of course, how can we not mention the new underbarrel grenade launchers? The M203 and the GP25, and they are, as you would expect, very, very strong. They can be obtained through airdrops and I'm sure other means as well, but if you have the ammo for them, they are extremely strong piece of utility. They do absolutely tank your weapon's ergo, which helps balance them out somewhat, but as long as they're rare out in the world, even with their additions, they shouldn't be a problem in the long term, right? In terms of the economy, everything is just much more expensive, especially suppressors. The UMP suppressor is wildly more expensive than it was previously. Of course, after I initially wrote this section, some of the prices have gone down a decent amount from when I initially saw them and was like, I gotta write this out, but they're still higher than previous wipes. But just not as high. But prices are inflated this time around, and we'll see how that influences people's buying habits. I wish there was a higher focus on making items rare by potentially removing them from the vendors in favor of finding them in the world, instead of just arbitrarily making them rare because they're so expensive, but I digress. Also, a decent amount of items are now locked behind even more tasks than before, and even some crafts are now locked behind tasks. So even if you have the correct module level and you have all the materials, you might not be able to craft what you're looking for. Again, another interesting change, and we'll see how down the line this affects crafting decisions as well. So we'll see. The Hideout got some love too. The shooting range now has levels and has moving targets, and it has your accuracy, which is super cool and interesting, and it finally got the gym. Well, kind of. It starts as a hole in your wall, and then by destroying it and finding the super secret door behind the wall, you can pump a ton of items into it and actually get the gym. The expansion to the Hideout is cool, you know, we haven't seen that in ever after the initial introduction of it. And leveling up some of your skills by an honestly kind of silly QuickTime event is definitely welcome in this doom and gloom game. There's a delicate balance to making sure you don't work too hard, otherwise you'll get fatigued and go into a raid with some unwanted side effects, but I'm sure once we learn the right amount to work out with, getting those higher levels of strength and endurance will actually be more welcome by the community because everyone can actually obtain them. Finally, and I think this last thing is huge, that it's now in the game but not mentioned at all in the notes, is Lightkeeper. He's here, in the flesh. You can actually go to Lighthouse, and with the correct items, you can speak to him. Now, there is a video out on YouTube where you can see what happens when you enter the room with Lightkeeper, but in case anyone doesn't want to know, I won't be sharing that information. It's very, very easy to search if you're curious. All I'll say is, for now, it seems like we're going to have to work really hard in order to fully engage with this trader, because remember, at the end of the day, he is indeed a vendor who sells stuff to us. What? We don't know, but I honestly expect it to change within the next week or so, and people actually figure out what he has for vendoring. And I think that's about it for the big stuff in patch 0.13. I hope I'm not forgetting anything major. If I did, I apologize, but seeing how the patch has been out for almost a week, I wanted to give just some brief notes on what's been going on and how everything has felt so far. And I can say I'm happy with this patch and wipe. Way better than the summer one we got 6 months ago, and that's for damn sure. But within the coming weeks and months, we'll see what issues arise with all these changes and talk about them as they crop up. So stay tuned for all that down the road. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, be sure to like and subscribe for more videos about Tarkov and patch 0.13. I hope to see you in future ones.